Hello, friends, and welcome to Saavy, Shae, and Friends, Season 1, Episode 1. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I am so excited to share stories with you, not just my stories, but stories of my friends who also happen to be educators just like me. And so there's no way that I could have started a show that's called Saavy, Shae, and Friends and not bring on my I won't say oldest, not oldest in age because we're the same age, and that would like mean I'm old too, and I'm not. But I mean oldest, like she's one of the oldest friends that I have in life, and so we've been doing this thing together for decades. Like mind your business. So before I bring on my very first guest, I want to read her bio. All right, you all ready? Are you ready? Because it's about to be on. All right. So a preacher, intercessor, and psalmist, Minister Rashena Draughn, has been spreading the gospel her entire life. She is unapologetically, had to pronounce that slow so I get all the syllables, who God has called her to be. She wholeheartedly believes in and lives by the greatest commandments to love God and love people. As a result, she has seen many blessed by her life and ministry. She was called to preach at an early age and finally, and I mean finally, fulfilled it in 2016. A native of Tarboro, North Carolina, and a certified PK, that's a preacher's kid. She has served in several ministry capacities, such as choir director and Sunday school teacher. She has served in ministry as praise and worship leader, choir director, Sunday school teacher, and executive assistant to the senior pastor. She currently serves as an associate minister, women's ministry facilitator, and in the worship and arts ministry on the praise team at First Baptist Church of Vienna in Vienna, Virginia. She is a board member of the nonprofit Until They Are Safe, and as a part of this show, she is currently employed by IDEA Public Charter School as a ninth grade English teacher. She's teaching those freshmen high schoolers, y'all. Woo, some of y'all know. Rashena holds a bachelor's degree in communication from East Carolina University and a master of divinity with a focus in church ministry in the digital age from Liberty University. Although she has spent her entire life in church, and that's literal, she is drawn to evangelism and winning of souls to those who are unchurched. She believes God has charged her to turn the world upside down and take church outside the four walls through her blog with the same title, Turning the World Upside Down, and her social media platforms. She is not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus and believes it is the power of God unto salvation. Please join me in welcoming my best friend, Rashena Q. Drone M.
Hello, everyone. Wow, that was quite an introduction, Shae.
Thank you. I couldn't have done it better if I had written it myself.
I mean, jeez. I was like, who is she talking about?
That's you, boo. That's you. Well, thank you so much for coming on Savage Shade and Friends and being my very first guest as my very best friend for I will almost say our whole life. It feels like. And y'all, we are so close as friends that she is actually my in-law. Mind your
Yes.
business. Just know that. That's a fact, okay? So, Rashida, I am so excited to have you here and to let the people know what I know about the journey that you had in and out of education in K 12 and in higher ed. So, we're going to delve right into the questions, okay? You ready? I promise I won't throw in any trick questions.
I appreciate it.
All right, so tell my other friends how many roles have you had in education? Tell us what those roles were, and most importantly, as you transition from role to role, how did you overcome the anxiety of starting over?
Whew, well, this is a multi-step question. So,
It's the HR in me. I can't help it.
hey, look, I get it. But roles in education, I started out my first role in education was as an eighth grade English teacher.
Yeah.
Um, at Phillips Middle School, there in Brattleboro, North Carolina.
Ooh, big old Battleboro.
Yes, so I served there and enjoyed it. I was cheerleading coach there as well. And then after that, I transitioned from K-12 into higher ed, into college admissions as an admissions representative, then eventually assistant. Um, director of admissions into the director of admissions role at Millermont College in Greenville, which is a for-profit career college. I did that for about 5.5 years, I guess. Detoured and did some other things, and I am back here in education a decade and a half later as a ninth grade English teacher in Washington, D.C.,
Ooh,
believe it or not.
the nation's
Um,
capital.
yes. So, yeah. So those are the roles that I have held in education. And if you want to count like my Sunday school classes and Bible study classes
Absolutely.
I've taught, yes.
Absolutely, that counts.
I've been in education pretty much my entire adult life. But overcoming the anxiety of switching roles, I guess. I don't know that I overcome the anxiety. I just kind of work through it and work with it because it is definitely daunting. It was daunting when I went back into the classroom in August. Um, but I just kind of pulled on prior knowledge and just the skills that I have learned in life and how to relate to people because a lot of times we don't like to think of kids as like human beings like they're children, but
Mm.
they are just people, smaller people that you deal with. And so I'm very good at relating to people, and I just kind of took that into this school year with me and build try to build those relationships, and I think I've been pretty successful in doing so. And that's kind of how I work through it and overcome, so to speak.
Well, I'm glad that you said that because one of the five fears that people have when changing careers is starting over. And
Hmm.
while it is difficult, that doesn't mean that you can't work through it. So I love the way that you coin working through it, as in you don't really overcome it. You just kind of adjust like you would with anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I know about is starting over. I feel like at my big age, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm just starting all over again. But I that's life. We all just we transition from one thing to another in life, and there's always a new beginning in some area. Maybe it's a career, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's other things, hobbies, other things. We all have to start over at some point, and just don't be afraid of starting over and knowing that you won't know everything, and you will never know everything. You just learn as much as you can and keep pushing.
Yeah, see, I told y'all she was a minister now, so I'm gonna have to keep the party going because she can preach and she will preach. But that is good stuff for you all to know. And little known fact, Phyllis Middle School is where both of us started because
Mhm.
the year before Rashena went there, I started my career at Phyllis Middle School in Brattleboro, North Carolina. Shout out to Edgecombe County Public Schools where we went to school, graduated, and then went back to give just a little bit of reasonable service. And then we,
A
we
little
got
bit.
out of town.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. All right. So back when you started at Phillips and when you came back to education in August and in your time in higher ed, what inspired you to pursue a career in education? And how have your motivations evolved over time?
I think that as if you just kind of if I step back and take a look at my life, I've always been in the business of helping people. Even when I graduated from college, I was in customer service. And um, as much as I hated it, there were people who, were just blessed or just touched by me just being a nice person on the other end of the line. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that um, in those roles, I've just learned that I'm here to serve. I love helping people. I love seeing people start out one way. They start out with a problem. And I guess in the past, never really considered myself a problem solver or, a person to help people through things. But I guess over time, that's kind of what I've been put here to do is to see people in one place dealing with something and try to help them move to the next level of wherever it is they want to go, move to the other side of that issue, the other side of that problem, and help them be what they want to be, and walk them through that, hold their hand through it, motivate them through it. And I think my motivation has just been the satisfaction of knowing that that I helped somebody. The old church song said, "If I can help somebody along the way, that my living won't be in vain." And I
Right.
just really, I really just enjoy. I found the joy in, even though it may not have been necessarily always what I wanted to do at the time. I just found the joy in doing what I'm doing, and learn to be content in that, and learn what I can learn from that position, and take it on to something else.
The more great jewels, the transferable skill I heard in there was customer service. So people don't view kids as customers, but education is a business, and I heard you say that too. So if
Right.
you're thinking about trying to figure out what your next step is in education, understand that just like Walmart, McDonald's, Starbucks, Target, all those places we love to visit, education is a business, and there's a place for you to bring your customer service skills, your communication skills, all those things Rashena just talked about. She transferred in and out in your career in education. So
Right.
thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So the $1 million question is, we know that there's a teacher shortage, right? So what made you boomerang back after you said a decade and a half?
Uh, yeah.
Back, and not just back anywhere in education, but back to the classroom.
Oh, do you want the nice answer? You want the real answer?
All I'm saying is the internet never forgets. So you give the answer that the Lord gives to you.
Honestly, so all right. And I came back into education, kicking into the classroom, kicking and screaming. I will be completely honest with you, because ever since I left the classroom, wonderful people like my good friend Saavy Shae and my god brother, Dr. Will Ortiz, among other people, were like, "Oh my God, why don't you teach? You should teach." Like, everybody's like, "You should teach." I'm like, been there, done that. I don't want to do it again. Like, I'm good. And it's really because I just, my first year teaching, I had a really bad experience, not with the kids, just the adults. I'll just say that. Since we're on the internet, I had a bad experience, and it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, I don't think I want to deal with that. And then, like, really, and I tell people that first that year I taught, like, I tell people all the time, it's like the poorest I ever been in my life.
Testify.
But but like, but it was mostly, it was really mostly just the bad experience of being in that particular environment, which is not really the greatest environment for a new teacher.
Hmm.
And so I said, okay, well, I did that. I tried that. It didn't work, and I'm gonna go do something else. So when I came back, so the last few years, I've kind of been looking like, okay, what do I want to do? I went and got my divinity degree because I was working full time. Um, praise God, at a church, and I've always seen myself in ministry. Like, ministry is just in me. So
Hmm.
I was like, I'm gonna go get this divinity degree. I'm working at the church. I'm gonna get some experience, and I'm do whatever. And that situation, basically, I needed to make more money. Um, and my god brother called me last summer, Dr. Ortiz. He was like, he works at Idea, and he says, we're looking for a music teacher. You can come teach music appreciation. I was like, what? And so I said, uh, I don't think I'm the best person for that. Like, I can sing, but like
Uh-huh.
like music history,
Yeah.
I don't think I would be, the best fit for that. Like, I hated music history when I took it in college. um, and so I actually passed the information on to one of my other really good friends, And I told her about it. She applied for it, went through the interview and all the things. And I was like, yeah, I love that for you. That's so cool. And they loved her. It was a great fit. And I was like gonna keep working my job. And then so my god brother, not one who he's one who's very persistent. And he called me back. He's like, well, since you gave away the other job, we have an English teacher position open. And so after much like not a lot of kicking and screaming at this point because I had a lot going on last year with transitions, with moving, and a lot of things. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop giving away jobs because I had this thing where people would call me and ask me about jobs,
Mhm.
and I would give them to other people.
Oh, use a referral service. Okay.
Yes, I was like a referral service, and I was like, yeah, not me, somebody else. And
Uh-huh.
so this time I was like, okay, I'm not gonna give another job away.
Mhm.
I had set a goal for myself that I was gonna have another job by the fall, and I
Mhm.
set that goal for myself, in the spring. So I said by the fall I'm gonna have another job, and so I was like, if I keep giving the jobs away, I'm not gonna reach my goal. So I said, I'm gonna, all right, you got me. I went for the interview. The
Mhm.
principal and I hit it off. We just had really great chemistry. And 2 weeks later, I was in service and setting up a classroom. And so, but I was very nervous, but I was also very excited uh,
Mhm.
to be able to work with the population that I work with, um, and to be able to see if I could inspire these kids and make a difference. So, I guess that's what inspired me, and that's the story.
Well, I like this version. I like that version of the story very, very much. I, you keep continuing to drop gems in all of your stories. One of my takeaways from that was the salary piece because we know there's an expression that we don't get into education for the income, we get in
Right,
for the
right.
outcome, and that is not true because
Mm-mm. Right.
nobody takes a job and they don't consider the income.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
I want you to remember back in those days when we were in Philly, that was during the hiring freeze and the salary
mhm.
freeze
Right,
in North
right.
Carolina. So when we talk about those impoverished times, that wasn't just because teacher salaries, that was because nobody in the state could get anything. It was
Absolutely.
the worst of times economically back in 2008.
And
So
trust
now,
me, I would I would not go to this job if it wasn't paying me more money. So
yeah. So those of you that are thinking about transitioning, into a different role, keep in mind that you don't have to settle for a lower salary. There are different types of schools. Like Rashena works in a charter school, and the charter schools have a different set of rules. Private schools have different sets of rules than the public schools. So don't feel like you cannot still fulfill your calling and your mission of serving just because the public schools may not be paying you what you need to survive. There are other avenues. One of the other takeaways I heard from that was about you setting a goal. Oh my God, I can do a whole nother show just on setting goals, right? And
right.
saying by this time I need to have this. But if
Hmm.
you had continued to give those jobs away, you weren't going to meet your goal.
No.
So somebody needs to hear that I need to set a goal and then I need to stop referring people. So
Right.
that's good stuff right there.
Right.
All right, let me move to the next question. We already touched a little bit about your transferable skills, but is there anything else as you reflect on your experience back in the day and now? What skills have you transferred in and out of the classroom that you use right now?
Um, like again, like my particularly when like I was teaching, I only taught a year, so I didn't really gather a lot of skills other than manage the classroom.
Yeah, that's the number one thing. Maintain safety.
You don't manage
Number
your
one.
classroom, that class will manage you.
Yes,
Um,
indeed. Yes, indeed. That's a tweet right there.
right. so that was like the main thing that I took away from there. But then when I got into admissions, a lot of my job was to motivate and inspire people. And sometimes you had to um, kind of dig deep into people's why. Like you can't really get somebody to change their life if you don't have a if you one don't have a good grasp on why they want to do it, but then also pull out of them why
Mm.
they want this change. Like you can't
Mm.
like somebody because people say, "Oh yeah, I want to go to school. I want to change my life," but
Uh-huh.
until you get down to the nitty gritty and to those pain points
Uh-huh.
of why you want the why you want to do this, then you're not gonna really help that person be successful. And
Wow.
so for me, what I've learned and I've taken with me from my admissions days is to establish a rapport with people, make people feel comfortable, but then also talk to them, get down to the bottom of the behavior. Like what's really
Mm.
going on here? And that has to come with a certain level of care. You can't just
Mm-hmm.
get to those things without actually caring for people. And so one of my biggest things that I take with me, and I've used it in every single position that I've been in, is just to actually care. Like, and there are
Wow.
a lot of teachers that don't care. There are a lot of people
Mm.
in universities who don't care. There are a lot
Mm.
of people who work in churches who, like I was, and don't care.
Woo.
And so you got to care about
Yeah.
people, and you
Yeah.
have to care enough to to get them to open up to you and to be
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable with you, so that you can pull that greatness out of them and help them get to where they want to be, help them achieve their goal.
Wow.
So like
Care.
that's the biggest
Mm.
thing.
That's so major. I
Yeah.
hope when you put your next blog out there that we're gonna be looking forward to that you're talking about care because you are so right. In general, people don't seem to value other people at all, and so
Right.
they take that with
Absolutely.
them in every environment. And my Lord, if there's a place that you cannot do that, it is when you're working with children
Right.
because they will read your energy quick
That
and
part right
push you
there.
in your place.
Right. And I think that for me, that's really big. Again, with the population I work in Northeast DC.
Mm-hmm.
These kids have seen everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I came in, they were like, "Oh, that's Miss Draughn. She from North Carolina. She probably saw
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah." Like,
Oh, they thought you was soft.
they thought, but but they also know that hardness, that harshness that Miss
Mhm,
Joan don't play came from a
mhm,
place of caring. And
mm,
the one thing that I tell them all the time, like I can do a lot of things for you. I can give you this work. I can show you how to do it, but I can't care for you. Like I can't
mm.
care for you. You have to care enough about this work. You have to care enough about your education. You have to care enough
Yeah,
about yourself. Now, I can tell you all day long, yes, but you also have to care. And it's hard for them to kind of grasp that because
mhm.
as I have, like, I moved to the DC area five and a half years ago. I'm going on my sixth
Wow,
year, right?
wow, it's been that long. Oh my.
Yes. But I lived in Fairfax County, which is very not the inner city, very much suburbia, uh,
Yeah,
soccer moms and SUVs.
yeah.
But transitioning over into Maryland and into Prince George's County and into DC and just absorbing the culture here,
Mhm, mhm.
there's a culture of not caring
Oh
um,
wow.
here. And
Uh-huh.
so you kind of have to like to try to change that kind of culture
Mhm.
in children who grew up in this that for
Yeah,
they're 14 like at this
yeah,
point. So to try to turn that culture and change that culture, you can't not care. Like you have to be invested
yeah.
in what you're doing. And so, I just try to be that at the very least, if I'm not teaching them anything, at the very least,
Mhm.
try to be a light.
Wow. Wow. Give me some of that southern hospitality, huh?
Yeah, like because they like and so sometimes they get frustrating and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and I'm like, I know I'm not the best teacher in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but what I do know is that I'm really good at people, and I'm
Mm.
really good at just building relationships, and that's what I'm doing. As I talked
Yeah.
about earlier, I'm building those relationships. I have two daughters.
Not literally, y'all. Keep
No,
listening
no,
to the
I have
story.
two
Somebody like, wait a minute,
strong.
the PK got two daughters.
Yeah,
Give me the
no,
background.
I have a son who's not a biological son who's 9. That's my baby. That's it. But I also have a daughter that adopted me when I taught at Phillips.
Uh-huh.
She's grown. Then I have two more daughters who have adopted me as their mom.
Mm-hmm.
For my snacks and pencils and all the things. And so
Mm-hmm.
that does my heart proud to know if I'm not teaching y'all that, I know I'm making a difference some way
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. That's great because sometimes in the school you get so focused on the curriculum and the pedagogy and is it rigorous and all these
Right,
things. But as the old adage goes, kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that is the same thing with adults as you elaborated on your experience in admission. So
yep,
no matter where you go, unless you're going to be a veterinarian and your whole job is just working with animals, but keep in
right,
mind animals still belong to people, you're
right,
going to have to work with people. And
yep,
I heard you talk about relationship building, a key transferable skill. And what I took away from that with my HR is networking.
right.
Because
Yes,
building relationships are not just for right now; those relationships can transcend through time.
yeah, definitely. I told you I got a daughter that's 30 something years old now, and I talk to her at least once a week from 15 years ago.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. So you also are mentoring along the
yes,
way with being a teacher.
yes,
Yet
yes,
another skill because when
yep,
you go to a new role, you may need training when you first get in, but once you learn the ropes, you start training and mentoring people. So
right.
you hearing all these skills, folks, that are coming out of being in the classroom that you can transfer in and out. I hope y'all paying good attention and taking good notes.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's shift a little bit and talk about, and you can choose a very challenging experience that you've had or a very rewarding experience that you had being an educator.
Um, I want to. I'm going to talk about the rewarding experiences because I think that just being in education is a challenge in and of itself. Whether you're
Wow,
working with
wow.
kids, whether you're in administration, whether you are working with adult learners, like it's all very challenging.
To say the least, yeah.
um, but I think one of my most rewarding experiences was seeing my sister get her first degree.
Oh,
From,
shout
from
out
the
to
place that
Kanisha.
I worked. Um, she was kind of struggling. She was, and she don't mind me telling this story. She tell it. She laughs about it all the time. But she was like at the time working at McDonald's. She had a daughter, and she always wanted to be a nurse. She always wanted to be in the medical field, and
Mm-hmm.
so like I was working at this college, so she called me one day just out of the blue and was like, "So tell me about your school and blah blah blah." And I don't know I don't know remember the whole conversation, but
Uh-huh.
she often and make sure I never forget that I said, "Because you don't want to be working at McDonald's for the rest of your life, do you?" But I think for me, I had learned in that role in education is that you have to tough love people
Mm-hmm.
into a
Mm-hmm.
better life.
That's
And
right. That's
so
right.
I think when I was that passion was coming out when I was talking to her, and so she was like, whatever I said, she took it to heart. She came like and enrolled in school. She got her first associate's degree um, in medical assisting. She's now went to school again and got
Yes.
her nursing LPN.
Mm-hmm.
license, and now she's one semester away from being an RN. And
That's
so
right.
I
She got
think
less
that's
than 100 days. She told me Sunday. Oh, damn. Shout out you, Kenitra.
and so, shout out to Bug. But if she had, I don't know if that conversation had gone differently to that day. I don't know,
Yeah.
where she would be right now. But the fact that I was able to motivate her to just take that first step,
Mm-hmm.
that's I like that's very rewarding to me, and that's not me taking credit for it. It's just that the way she tells the story is hilarious, and she just never lets me forget that I told her that she didn't need to be working at McDonald's for
Yeah, you drop some good knowledge on her, and that just speaks to the power we have as educators in our words when
right,
we care about people and we care about their future, and just those couple of things that we can say to them can change the trajectory of their lives, and we may not even think about it again, and they will never forget those words.
right.
So that's a great story. Thank you very much for sharing that. All right, so let's switch back then to talk about your transition. So, which one was easy for you? Because you talked about a couple transitions. You transitioned out of college into the classroom, did that for a little bit, transition out, transition into higher ed, did that for a good spell, transition from one position to an elevated position. Then you transition from the state to a whole nother state, right? And then from to a private institution, into the ministry, into the church as a job, and then back to the classroom. So that's like one, two, three, four, five, about six, seven transitions.
Oh, child.
And when you think about it, it's like, wow, you were there, you know it happened, but you don't really count like and keep tabs.
No, no, really. My friend, Rashane, he always tells me, he was like, sometimes I look at you and I'm just like, how are you doing this? And
Blue
and
side,
like
shout
he
out to
just
the
means
same my
like I
frat brother.
know like this stuff is not easy.
Yeah.
But you just like act like nothing bothers you. And I'm just like, well, when you're in a thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't realize like what you're doing. I like for me, when I'm in something, I'm going
Yeah.
through things, I don't realize what I'm doing. Like I'm just living my life.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
always, and shout out to my dad, always raised me to not let just everything just bog down and get you down. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't allow life to eat at you and just sit there and take it. Like you just gotta
Yeah.
keep it moving. And I think it is, and as a culture, especially as African Americans,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
our thing. We gotta keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing.
Yeah.
For me, it's just what I was, as the kids saying, I was delusional. I was delusional. Like that's how I've been handling these transitions. Delusion. I promise you, it's just I didn't realize like all of this. Like I knew it was hard. Like I knew
Uh-huh.
I'm a little bit tired, but like I'm trying to survive.
Yeah. That part.
And it never dawned on me. Like even just sitting here as you were reading my bio, I'm just sitting here like, yeah, I've done a lot. Like I've done a lot because like
Yeah.
I tell people in my mind I'm 25. I'm 25. Like how could I do that at this small age of 25? Probably crazy. Um, but in real life, again,
Yeah.
delusional. But
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
life, I'm 41 years old, and so it's you. I just keep moving, keep pushing, and live my life, and know that faith has played the biggest role. Like my faith
Uh-huh.
has played the biggest role in all of this.
Yeah.
And sometimes um, I don't have the like. Believe it or not, I'm a very confident person, but sometimes when you are dealing with things, especially you're transitioning into new positions, you don't always have the most confidence in yourself
That's right.
uh, that you can do the thing that you try to do.
That's
Like
right.
we all, and then when I realized we all just out here winging it. Like, none of us know what we're doing, y'all. That's the big secret.
You heard it here first.
None of us know what we're doing. We're all out here winging it. We read our books and we have we have our education, but at the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road, the stuff is gonna come at you, and you just gonna have to see what you made of.
Yes, yes, most definitely.
Yeah, so that's how I handle like the transitions. Like last year was a lot of transition for me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, for the last 2 years maybe.
Yeah.
Uh, so you just kind of deal with it. And then the other thing is, don't feel like because you have feelings about what you're going through and feelings about the transitions and feelings about things, don't feel like you're broken. don't
Oh,
don't feel like
oh.
there's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm. Say it
Because
loud for the people in the back.
because you have feelings about it. Because
Yeah.
that was me. I felt like, and speaking of my very dear friend, James passed away, and I just felt like I was just there, like I couldn't get right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, there's something wrong with me. And like, I never had the experience of like, wow, I just cannot get myself together. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's been months now, and I still
Yeah.
can't get myself together. This broke me. I had some issues where I had to move at the last minute last year. Now
Yeah.
I ain't get evicted, y'all.
That's right. Don't be spreading rumors about my destiny. You
But
just had to
like,
move.
just having issues where I had like, all right, okay, release is not being renewed. I
Yeah.
gotta transition. And
Yeah.
so I felt like all of that broke me. And so I had to realize that I'm not broken. I'm just a person. I'm just a,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and because I have feelings about that, and because I have emotions about that, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong.
That's
Like,
right. That's right.
okay,
Because life be life sometimes.
life be life, and you don't be afraid to have feelings. And I think for me, for a very long time, that was the case. I was afraid to feel things, and afraid
Yeah.
to, because like, oh, you so sensitive, you cry, cry, cry. Like, listen, yeah, I'm gonna cry, but then I'm gonna get myself together. I'm gonna go do what I gotta do.
That's right.
So I think people just don't need to be afraid to have those emotions, to have those feelings, feel those feelings, and then work through those feelings. Don't bury the feelings. Don't, and if you can't push through, stop for a minute, breathe,
Yeah. Yeah.
and ask for help. Like,
Mm.
we,
That part. Mm.
and I'm talking to me. I'm
Yeah.
Um, 'cause it took everything in me, even though I knew like it wouldn't be a problem. It literally took. I live with one of my best friends. I live with Rashane, and it took everything in me to say, Rashane, can I come stay? Like,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't care. Like, he was extending the red carpet. Like,
Yeah.
girl, the door is open. All you gotta do is ask. And I was just like, it took so much for me to ask that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's been a necessary part. It's been so relieving to not
Mm-hmm.
have to worry about paying all the
Yeah.
bills and taking care of everything, and
Yeah.
just and having the support system
Mm-hmm.
right here in the house. So
Yeah. It makes a
I don't know how
difference.
I got there, but yeah. Ask
That's
for
all right.
help, and feel the emotions. That's what's helped me.
Yeah, that's good because somebody listening is afraid to make a change because of the emotion that comes with transition.
Right.
So somebody needed to know that it's okay to ask for help. That's why we have resources available to help us. That's the power of the internet. You
Right.
can go and ask a question about whatever it is that you want to know more about, and it's going to point you to another site, a person, a business, something that can help you. And for those of you who are looking to transition in your career, you may need some help, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you asking for that. People
Absolutely.
get jobs through other people, right? That's the power of networking and caring and building relationships that Rashena has been talking about throughout this broadcast. So many good jewels. You've already answered as a good educator does a lot of the other questions that I had. So I want to ask, what advice outside of what you just provided would you give to someone who's ready to transition into another area of education, whether that be corporate, admin, entrepreneurship, higher ed, based on some of the lessons you learned throughout your transition?
Don't be afraid to take the step. Don't be afraid
Ooh,
to do the thing.
ooh,
Um,
mic drop.
don't be afraid to do the thing, whatever
Yeah,
the thing is. Just do it. Like
yeah,
I think about it. I don't know. I may be saying too much here, but whatever. We're here now.
that's
Um,
right.
but I
Let's
was
go
just
for it.
thinking about my mental health last year, and
Mm-hmm,
I struggled with depression and anxiety, and work was a big trigger for me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Just it was a lot. And again, people kept coming offering me positions, and I would
mm-hmm.
say no, and then stay there and suffer.
Woo! Stay there suffering.
Stay
Mm,
there and
mm, mm.
suffer. I'm like, because I felt because in my mind I had to work out like, well, how is this going? How is Josh going to get to school?
Uh-huh.
How's that commute going to be? How am I going to
Yeah,
how am I going to do that instead of just taking the step?
yeah.
Um, and figuring it out. And so, but when I um when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do at my next job, I was like, okay, I don't like God basically God took away all my excuses. That's
Ah,
what happened.
ah.
People kept like, oh, I was like, no, but I live in Fairfax. That job is in DC. I can't do that because
Uh-huh.
how's Josh gonna get to school?
Uh-huh.
And so God moved me out of Fairfax.
What they doing? Lord have mercy.
Yeah. So it's like so when Will called about the job, I'm like, well, job is 14 minutes away, same as my commute was in
Uh-huh.
Fairfax.
Uh-huh.
Josh's school is 9 minutes away from the school. Like, I don't have any excuse at this point.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
to give the job away or to say no or to hold myself back. And and when I tell you that now, even working with these children, even working in DC, even working in this culture, my mental health is the better for it. I am in
Wow.
such a better space because I stopped being afraid to do the thing.
Mm, mm,
um,
mm. The doors of the church are open.
I stopped being afraid to do the thing. I am a much happier person. I am a much more content person.
Mm-hmm.
My anxiety is almost non-existent. Um,
Wow.
whereas it was up here every
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
for months. Whereas now it's like, okay, I'm gonna go into work. I'm gonna teach these kids. I'm gonna get these lesson plans done, do these grades, and I just feel like I had my life back. And
Wow.
it was because I did the thing that I was
Mm-hmm.
afraid to do.
Kicking and screaming.
Yes,
Giving away jobs.
and drug me out of there kicking and screaming. But here I am, and people were like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know. It's great. Like it's good. It's really good. And again, it's not without its challenges. It's not without its frustrations. But I just feel better
That
overall.
makes a huge difference because somebody is going to work on Monday hating that they have to go to work.
Yeah,
Hate the job, hate the
yeah,
culture, hate the co-workers, hate the salary, but they keep right on going to that same job because they're trying to figure it out. Because maybe they hadn't heard that old song that while you trying to figure it out, dot dot dot. You
come
know what the word do.
on.
So you're wasting your own time trying to put all the pieces together. And if you keep right on, he will do exactly what you just described and eliminate excuses.
Yes, like it was really that simple. And I think back to the jobs. I was like, I could have been,
Right.
I could have been like out of here. Like, the songwriter, the hymn says, "Oh, what peace we often forfeit.
Uh-huh.
Oh, what needless pain we bear."
Come on.
All because we don't carry everything to the Lord in prayer. All because we don't trust
Right.
the process, and we
Yes.
don't trust
That
that
part.
it's gonna work out. Even though everything, all the signs are there telling you, go.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Somebody is sitting at that red traffic light right now. It's about to turn green and they still sitting there waiting for it to turn green. Just
yep.
waiting for somebody to blow their horn. Here's your horn. Beep, beep. Do the thing that you
Yep.
are afraid to do.
Do
Take the
that
step.
thing. Yep.
All right. So this is the last part of the interview portion. But looking ahead, what do you believe are the future challenges and opportunities in the field of education? And how can we as educators prepare for them? And you can talk about it from a K 12 lens, higher ed lens, with whichever one you want to come from, or just as a parent raising an African American male going through the educational system.
I think just being and having all of those lenses and looking at even my kid and the kids that I work with, um, trying to figure out how um, to make education relevant for kids,
Mm,
uh,
mm-hmm,
because they feel like the things that they learn in school are irrelevant, and I know for my kids in particular, they have a hard time making those future connections of
mm-hmm,
how is me learning how to write a 5 paragraph essay today going to help me
mm-hmm.
in the future. And they don't realize that when they're learning how to write, they're learning how to express themselves, articulate ideas, and that those
Mm-hmm.
things can translate into a myriad of things, doing
Right,
presentation sales pitches, doing business plans, all of
right.
those, because they want to be bloggers, and they want to be athletes, and they want to be influencers, and all the things, and they don't realize that, okay, but you have to learn.
Mm-hmm,
There are
mm-hmm.
things you need to learn. Like, even
Right.
with my son is like, "Mommy, we don't need school. We have YouTube." He's 9, y'all. Like, yeah, because you can learn history from your grandparents, and you learn math. You have a calculator.
Mhm,
So I think, but even at his young age, I think the struggle is going to be at how to make education relevant, and
mhm.
how to deal with a shortened attention span, because it's our attention span, even me at my big age, my attention span isn't what it used to be
Right,
10, 15 years ago.
right.
Um, and so um, how can we cater to that, and make education relevant, and then keep these kids' attention when they would much rather be on a screen, um, playing a
Yeah,
video, playing Call of Duty, or scrolling on TikTok,
yeah,
or dancing on TikTok. Um,
right.
so to me, that is a challenge, and it's going to continue to be more challenging in the coming years.
Yeah, that's an excellent point because that is a good question. Why learn to write when I can just tell Chat GPT what I want and it's gonna write it for me? Not
Correct,
understanding that the person that's reading can tell that Chat GPT wrote it. If you
girl.
don't do and your own thing to it, just like when you're cooking, you can't just give me boiled chicken. You gotta put some
Right,
salt, some pepper, some chicken broth,
he's
something
that
in
boy.
it. Wow, what
Really.
an excellent point about making education relevant again and adult tension spans as well. I know that we can attest to being in a staff meeting and it taking too long and just happen to seemingly get on your phone and start thinking about a grocery list or either perhaps even ordering groceries and having it ready when you get off or ordering dinner or checking a news camera or a plethora of things
Right.
besides being focused in on that meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how can we expect anything differently from the students if that's how we're thinking?
Again, yeah, because again, people don't realize that these children, they just small people.
Yep.
Just, as you know, some people say they're just tiny humans, and
Yep.
and their minds are not as developed, and you have to figure out how to speak their language, figure out how to break through to them. And one thing I've always um, I heard when I first started in education that it just it will never change if the kids aren't learning the way you teach. Then you got to teach the way they learn, um, and I think that's just across the board in education, in church, in business.
Yep.
You have to get your message across the way people are going to understand it. Your audience is going to understand it.
Absolutely. Across any job. So if you're thinking about going to administration, you still have to communicate with kids. You still got to communicate with parents. But then you got the wonderful privilege of supervising other adults who are doing the same thing. And
Right.
if you really want to walk into a challenge, manage grown people.
British people. Whoo.
Okay?
Now bring me back. Let me talk about
Because that is a whole
that.
nother show just about learning how an adult learner thinks and getting them, especially when there's an age difference. And we have about 5 generations in the workforce right now. And you have to manage somebody who's older than you, so they're like your parents' age. And then at the age that we are, you're starting to get, especially me, my son is 19, so he's actually eligible to be in the workforce.
Right.
So he can actually be one of my employees, not directly reporting to me, but
Right.
in the agency. Or because I was a teacher, I have employees, even in my department, who are the same age as the students that I taught back when we were taking over in the early 99, 2000.
In the 2000.
So that's a different space. So again, what you learn in a classroom, what you do as an educator at every stage can transcend across all facets in
Yep.
your career.
It
All
does.
right. So, Rashena, that was great. I know I learned a lot from this conversation. And
Okay.
so I know everybody who sees this is going to glean some of these jewels as well. So, as we get to the closing part, I have a little fun activity that is just going to ask some quick questions and you just respond with what pops in the top of your head.
Oh
Okay.
Lord.
And
Okay. You sure say.
like speed dating. So I'm gonna say it, and then you respond, and then I'm gonna move to the next one rapidly. Okay.
Okay.
So it'll be fun, nothing embarrassing. I promise.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Your favorite childhood celebrity crush?
Oh man, my favorite childhood celebrity crush was Kobe Bryant.
Who?
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe. Okay. R.I.P. Kobe.
Yes.
Okay. How about your secret talent?
Secret talent. I don't know if it's a secret, but they call me the human jukebox radio, whatever, because that's how I
Definitely.
if there's a song, I know the lyrics. Don't ask me why. I don't know.
That is absolutely true. I'm talking elevator music, music on the radio, oldie goldies, you name it. She's gonna know it there and sing it in melody
My life is a
every time.
musical. My life is a musical. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right. Person you would trade places with for a day.
Ooh, who would I trade? I would trade places with my kid for a day.
Really?
Yes, because he thinks that I'm rich. He thinks all the adults around him are rich, and I want to be in that type of live in that kind of faith. Praise God. That the people who take care of me got bottomless pockets.
I love it. I love it. All right. How about the weirdest job you've ever had?
Oh, weirdest job I've ever had. Um, I sold a vacuum cleaner. Well, I worked as a vacuum cleaner salesman for like 2 days.
Was that Kirby?
Yes, Lux.
You are really telling your age with that one, sis.
Well, at least I didn't say Vector.
That is really, really telling. So y'all been doing this for 2 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't get past the trainer. I was like, wait, what am
Look at it.
I doing here?
All right. What about your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. Oh man. I like to just and I don't know if it's guilty or not. I kind of feel guilty, but I watch Grey's Anatomy. Like I'm in my third rewatch of Grey's Anatomy.
You do love that show.
I started watching it right before in December, and and sadly, I am on season 9. No, season 10. I'm on season 10. Don't ask me why.
Well, I cannot talk because I'm still in '88. So it's
Girl,
Golden Girls and Amen and 227 and a different world for me
wow.
consistently in a workflow. And it doesn't even matter. I'm like, I want to see Whitley and Dwayne get married again. And I could play it again, Sam. And I
And
get
that's someone who's on their third rewatch. Y'all, like, I little known fact, I am a surgeon in my head as well.
that.
Yes, I
Because you
call
watch
me,
so much Grey's Anatomy?
huh?
Because you watch so much Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah, I mean, there's 19 seasons. We're about to enter season 20 now, and I'm on, again. I've watched all the episodes once through. I've watched all the episodes like live, and
Uh-huh.
now I'm like rewatching again. So like that's like 30, almost 30 years of surgical education.
I'm saying. I
So
mean, Josh already said, why need school? You got YouTube, you got Grey's Anatomy.
exactly, if you need your
Boom.
appendix taken out, like call me, and I could do it. I could do
All
it
right. Let me put your handle back up there so people know if they're looking for an appendectomy. Go Instagram
right
at
there,
I am
right there.
Rashena. Okay. All right. Best compliment you ever got.
Best compliment I ever got. Um, I'm gonna have to say is having these children want me to be their school mom. Like think that that's like an excellent. I mean, outside of like my own son who says I'm the
Yeah.
best mommy ever, because that's like
Yeah.
that's up
Yeah.
there too. But like
Yes,
having
it
people
is.
that I did not birth say,
Yeah.
you know what, you are like a mother figure to me, and that you are like I trust you. That
Yeah.
they come me and they ask me questions and they take my advice, and I'm like,
Oh, wow.
let me get my disclaimer.
Yeah.
But to me, that is a great compliment. Because people don't have to connect with you in that way, but to
Yeah.
know that there's some impact there where, you know what, I'll take it. I'll be the old lady in your life. Because apparently I'm the old lady now.
Yeah. Yeah. We're definitely in the age of auntie-ness. Like,
Yes, like
straight up.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
For sure. Well, this has been so much fun and indeed a pleasure. Again, thank you, Minister Rashena Draughn, MDiv. RashenaDraughn.com be coming to you real soon. And Turn the
absolutely.
World Upside Down is the blog. I'll put her
Yeah,
handle up here if you want to follow her on Instagram because she is hilarious.
and
She didn't
I
talk about that secret talent, but some of the things that she put on her social media is truly hilarious.
and
So
I
be
am Rasheen on
sure.
all social media. Every all of them, it's the same.
All right, so follow her and her shenanigans as she calls them, and that's because if you spell shenanigans, part of her name is in there.
Can't spell shenanigans without Sheena.
So thank you all so much for watching Saavy, Shae, and Friends. I want to remind you of Proverbs 18 and 24, which reads, "A man that hath friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother, and his name is Jesus." Until next time, let's go higher.
Bye.